Republican primary candidates have attacked the frontrunner Donald Trump after the former president once again declined to join the second GOP debate. Despite not being in the room, his absence dominated a lot of the discussion among those competing for the nomination.
Where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight.
And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Donald Trump was instead holding a competing rally in Detroit, Michigan, a day after President Biden joined striking US automobile industry workers. Former President Trump was welcomed to a warm reception by fans and promised to create more jobs for the United States.
A vote for President Trump means the future of the automobile will be made in America, where it should be. Made in America.
For analysis, let's bring in one-third of the outsiders and host of the US report on Sky News, James Morrow. James, talk me through your reading of all of this. It looks like almost a parallel universe when you look at the Republican debate without the main person on stage. Is it worth them having it, given what he's upwards of 40% ahead of the nearest rival?
Yeah, I mean, depending on which poll you look at, he's 30, 35, 40 plus up. Donald Trump is almost surely going to be the Republican nominee, which brings, of course, potentially its own host of issues, with all the legal issues that he's got going on right now. But this debate here, I just thought it was a terrible waste of time. And I think it was a waste of time, especially for the Republicans there who were serious candidates, the Ron DeSantis, I think some extent Vivek Ramaswamy, people like that, because you had all of these people like Doug Burgum from North Dakota there, Asa Hutchinson, all sorts of people who have absolutely zero chance of becoming a nominee. I mean, not on any planet that we know in this universe would they ever be this year's Republican nominee. And so for them to be having this sort of shooting match, it was unbecoming. All of them was unbecoming the party. And I mean, my God, how many times, Kieran, do you reckon, old Chris Christie, before the mirror, before he went out there this morning, was like, we're going to call you Donald Duck, huh? Well, making with the comedy there, big guy. It was just a painful thing to watch. And, no wonder Trump has run away with that. I thought Ron DeSantis got away with a few good lines. I thought Ramaswamy got away with a few good lines. But other than that, this show needs to be called off.
Yeah, well, you look at the Trump address in Michigan, and it was a day after President Biden was there. It's very clear who this contest is between already, isn't it?
Well, look, I mean, right now it's between Trump and Biden. Now, Kieran, I don't think that Biden is ultimately going to be on the ticket next November, but that's a question for a little bit later on. But right now, this is a Trump-Biden race. It is a Trump vision of America versus a Democrat vision of America. And what we've been seeing over the last few months is how that Democrat vision has been playing out, at the southern borders, in the cities where we've seen nothing but chaos and dysfunction. Trump is saying, vote me in. I will restore order. I'll bring back the border. I will bring back manufacturing. This was the theme of his first term as president. And it's really key what he's talking about there in Michigan because, of course, those auto workers, they're striking for a really big pay increase. But what, the issue really is about is, can middle and working class people earn a dignified living in the United States anymore? And the Democrat model, Trump is saying, is one that is made for, the top elite type people and also with a sort of a large sort of imported service class. But the middle, they don't have anything to say to them. Donald Trump is trying to get that middle back again, just like he did in 2016.
Is he being undermined in that effort, though, by what's happening on Capitol Hill right now with a looming shutdown, and largely because of the split within the Republican Party?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, these shutdowns are never good for the Republicans. I've lived through probably a dozen of them, I think, since Newt Gingrich's one back in 94, 5, 6, whenever that was. These never go well for the Republicans. You'd want them to get that sorted out quickly because it's just a huge brand thing for them. The thing the Republicans, though, are going to be saying, though, on the other side is saying, well, look, if we shut down the federal government, we're not going to be paying federal workers, but Joe Biden is still going to be writing checks for government workers in Ukraine, and they're going to start to exploit that. That's going to bring out a whole new foreign policy realm to this in what should normally be a very domestic policy discussion.
You mentioned that Joe Biden won't be on the ticket. Can you elaborate on that for us, James? My ears did prick up when you said that. So what's your read on it? Do you think someone like Gavin Newsom from California, who comes along the outside to take the Democratic nomination?
Yeah, so remember, Kieran, how it works in the Democratic Party. Democrat Party is sort of like a People's Democratic Republic. It's none of the above, It is run in the back rooms by the people who are controlling the party. At the convention, there are people called superdelegates who control huge blocks of votes. So even if Joe Biden sails through the primaries and the caucuses and they've fended off Robert F. Kennedy and there's no primary challenge and he just comes in and it's a nomination, gavel drop, hey, he's the nominee, those superdelegates can still say not so fast. We want somebody else. Now, Gavin Newsom is very high on the list. He was out taking potshots at Donald Trump today over the debate, and also the Republicans. He's been very much on the front foot. But there are other options out there, too. I note that Adam Creighton, writing in The Australian today, notes from Washington that there's a poll that says that Michelle Obama could be somebody who they would look at because, after all, this has been the third term, really effectively, of the Obama administration. For the Democrats, Kieran, it's really about the suit of clothes, who fits it to get up there and run the agenda. It's not about somebody who comes up and has, their own sort of program of ideas and independent thought, which, of course, Joe Biden isn't really capable of anyway.
Yeah. That would be entertaining. Michelle Obama versus Donald Trump.
That's a word for it, Kieran.
That would be entertaining. Yep, absolutely, if that does eventuate. Now, tell me, you touched on this as well earlier. I find it hard to keep up with all of the legal issues that Donald Trump is facing, from Georgia to Virginia to New York. And then now a judge has found him liable on fraud, him and his two adult sons.
So this is just absolutely nuts, Kieran. And I mean, you don't have to love Trump to understand what's going on here. Is really a process called Bill of Attainder. It's a Bill of Attainder. They're trying to prosecute one person for who he is and what he believes, not because of what he did. They've used some very obscure readings of the statutes to accuse Donald Trump of fraud and saying that he inflated asset prices to get loans, which he used to build his empire. He paid the loans back, so it was a fraud, but whatever. They're saying, among other things, that Mar-a-Lago, the 100-plus room mansion on 24 acres in Florida that he's turned into this, massive club, is only worth $20 million, that he inflated the asset value improperly. Nobody believes that. Nobody buys it. But the case was brought by Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State. She ran for office explicitly on a program, a platform of, I am going to sue Trump into oblivion until he can't function anymore. This is all part of that effort. And I think everybody out there, even if you don't like Trump, even if you think it's the worst thing ever, even if you think Trump is, as Trump himself would say, a total disaster, you have to understand that once you start this, the winds can shift, and your guys are going to be the next ones in the frame.
Well, look forward to more on that with the US Report, 8 p.m. on Friday. James, of course, the host of the US Report. Thanks as always. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Kieran.